You're listening to the Lights Out F1 podcast. And this week we are at Germany, episode 13. Wow, what a race. And let's first list it in to where we got those out on track with Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen after the race.
Oh, what a race. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Fail 8-4, please, Max.
Amazing, Max. That was just amazing. We're going to set this up to get the trophy today, all those pit stops. You did an amazing job out there.
Thank you, Christian. Wow, what a result. Also, thank you to the whole team for the pit stops as well. We did a really good job. Thank you.
And P2, Sebastian, fantastic job. From last to P2. Awesome job.
We got a bit hairy in the final lap there. Breaking for 8. What a race. It's been a long one. Grazie a tutti. Grazie.
So, things will be a little bit different this week. We're still going to do the 5 lights out, 5 lights on segment, but we're going to do it from the podium, the stewards, the penalties, the Mercedes weekend from hell. We're going to talk about the infamous ice rink, and there's a special one in there. You'll learn that one very quickly. And they're the 5 lights out. Checkered flag. We'll quickly go over Hulkenberg, the Daniel Ricciardo exhaust failure, Stroll's last to 4th, Haas boys, they touch again, and more rumours, including Verline ending up in there somewhere, and Williams. They steal a point with Kubica, including the free practice traffic, the minimum lap time. We ask you a question about that one, and Norris holding up Albon. S3 awards, a little bit different from the both of us this week. Rookie watch, I think we were all pretty unanimous with that one. Podium predictions, we went obviously really bad in Germany, but we give you our ones for the next race. Lots of sim racing and esports news, so if you want to hang around for that one, please do. Lots to do with the iRacing and what happened with that Spa event for the first split and the second split. I'll explain all that. Fantasy League, we go over that really quickly. Again, I had a massively good week. So, follow me. Anyway, I've got the doctor next to me. We're going to go over the podcast, episode 13. Wow, what a race. Here it is. Hello, welcome, Germany, episode 13, Lights Out F1 podcast. And wow, what a race. You're listening to the Lights Out F1 podcast. Don't forget, you can leave us a like or a review. You can find us on Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, all your favourite podcast places. Google Play is still coming. I do promise you that. It'll probably happen over the summer break. But we've got a great Grand Prix to talk about with Dr. Aussie here tonight. How good was that, buddy?
Well, what a race, bro. It is the theme of the week.
It is definitely. We've got so much to go through. There was rain, there were safety cars, there were penalties, there was people finishing where you didn't expect it, points given out. We should pretty much dive into this one.
Hang on, just before we get into the meat of it, let me ask you a question. Was Bernie right?
What did Bernie say?
Do we need sprinklers?
Oh. Yes. Yes, and we need drag strips and sprinklers, I think.
Yeah. Maybe we need sprinklers on the outside of the track so that once they go off track, they're on ice.
Yeah. Once they if that'd stop, sausage curbs and sprinklers would probably fix everything.
Yeah, just thought it was funny.
We've Formula One is fixed
Oh.
with sprinklers and sausage curbs. So
Formula One, look, you know what? We've just flipped it around. It was our light 5, but I'm just going to tell everyone from the outset, here you go, light 1. F1 is not boring, folks. F1 is not broken. All those
I think it's a little bit broken, but it's not boring.
all those naysayers after France, all those people who left never to see F1 again. I mean, I always tell my missus, sport in general, not just Formula One, but it's the best reality TV ever. Don't worry about all your bachelors and your bachelorettes and all these bullshit reality TV shows. You get
Survivor,
onto...
that's a new one.
Mate, you could not have scripted these last 3 races back to back any better than what we got given to us.
No, there were a lot of people that left us a race too soon.
No,
And they're missing out.
You know what I say?
No, I don't think-
Sucked into them.
I don't think anyone would have been able to predicted the grid, the finishing grid we had on the weekend.
No way. If anyone had money on that podium, good luck to them.
Oh, that would have been a nice payout. That would have been
Yeah.
that would have been easily like over $1,000.
Oh my
Easily.
god. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So there you go, guys. Light 1 done and dusted.
Yeah.
F1,
F1
is not boring.
No. Do we need... Are you sad to see Hockenheim go? After what we saw?
Mate, I'm sad every time I see these old iconic tracks leave. I mean, they've already chopped it up to bits. I love the old Hockenheim when they went out into the woods and then they came back through the woods.
Yeah.
That was an awesome mega track then, but you know, obviously for safety reasons, it was no longer allowed. But they've just always, I think we've discussed it before, I don't understand why they have so much trouble getting money for this race. I mean, the champions that have come out of Germany, hello, Michael Schumacher. Like, you know, 7-time world champion. You got Vettel, 4-time world champion. Nico Rosberg, okay, he's a halfie, I guess, German and Monegascan. But Mercedes, like, they are a German company. Like, why does this race struggle so much?
I don't know. Like, I always when you have like touring car races and stuff at the Nürburgring, it always seems to be full. The VLN series they do there, that's always packed and party central and people camping on the side. And I don't know. There's the Mercedes, obviously. I don't know. I reckon if BMW came back, I reckon you'd probably see Germans flock back to the Grand Prix. I think they've got a real affinity with the German manufacturers, but I
So
don't
what
know.
are you saying that the Germans aren't necessarily like into Mercedes as a brand, as a company? I mean,
I don't know.
it's just strange to me.
I've always seen it talked about. I saw this a lot. There was I think it was the first VLN race this year, and they were interviewing the German crowd, and a lot of them, their favorite manufacturer was the BMW. So, and they were like, a lot of them were picking the Beamer. So, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I don't know what it's like in Germany with motorsport, but it's an oddity, that's for sure.
I think maybe one of the biggest issues here is government funding. I'm not sure if they get any government funding for this race, and I believe that's probably the crux of the problem.
Oh yeah,
They started a fair few years ago where they were switching between the two races in Germany. You know, remember they were calling it the European Grand Prix
Yes,
when they were
I do
going
remember
to.
that. Yeah.
What's
weren't
the other
they
track
doing
called? I
both,
can't
like
think of it at the
doing
moment.
Nürburgring and Hockenheim.
So you think, geez, you can't even make it work that way? So obviously it's just not financially viable. I mean,
Yeah, Vettel said it well. He said money's king. And
cash is king. Exactly
cash
right.
is king. So it's clearly the biggest issue.
Look,
But anyway,
just hang on.
just
Seeing you brought it up, the only thing I thought with that is, why doesn't Mercedes just buy the track?
It's probably not viable. I guess.
I guess at the end of the day, it is a business. I just think of, how Red Bull bought the A1 ring and brought it back to life. And I mean, the only reason it went ahead this year, I heard, is because Mercedes funded it this year's race.
is.
So
You're
that's
right,
what made me think, why don't they just buy it? But I guess.
Well, Toto said something about it, and he said that they're not in the business of like making races happen. They're a racing motorsports company, a car company. They've got to sell cars, so they obviously don't see a racetrack as a business opportunity to help increase sales or whatever it is.
Especially with, all the bans on testing these days where you can't even run a car around the track, whereas you could think, 20 years ago, you could just be having a couple of test drivers and just lap all day, every day there. So it's no benefit, I guess, owning a track. So
No.
it's all in the wind tunnel now and all on the computers.
Exactly. Anyway, so we've done light 1. It's not boring, and we're sad to see Hockenheim go. Light 2. I'll let you lead with this one.
Well, we know that we're doing it a little bit different this week. We're not just going to have one light. We are going to have the lights out segment as we've already started, but we're going to go a bit more of a broader topic because we don't want to go like other people and just go every driver, position by position, team, because there's so much to talk about. So for light 2 here, we're going to talk about the podium, the 3 podium winners of the weekend. We'll just cover them all here and see what our thoughts were. Starting off with Max and his second win for Red Bull this year, and that's 2 for Honda. Who would have predicted that this early?
Well, he did a 360 and he said it was kind of fun, so he obviously enjoyed his time.
Yeah, I am liking Max more and more,
Yeah, he's a good bloke. He was slow off the start, very slow though. Was that another anti-stall thing, you think?
No, it's a tactic. It's a tactic. That's what he did in Austria as well. He needs that bad start to win.
Right. It's working.
Yeah, exactly. Too bad it wasn't working for Webber.
Yeah, true. We did say that last time. But yeah, I just noticed that he was really bogged down. Everyone around him got a clean get. It was a tentative start from the field, but Max was the slowest, I think, of most of them.
These days, these cars have the anti-stall on it. I dare say, like in the old days, that would have been stalled on the grid. Everyone would have went around him, I think.
Yeah.
It's just the car kicks into anti-stall, which saves them, I guess. So they still manage to get away, albeit,
slowly,
way behind, but it didn't really seem to faze him, especially this weekend. I mean, 7 safety cars, including VSCs and real ones, and a 360 spin, as you said.
Yep.
A botched start, and he still wins.
Yep.
So
and he was on the wrong tyres at one point, even too, because he said they should have gone the softs. That was just before he spun.
I could not believe that as he came out of the pits on those yellow tyres. I was thinking, what the hell are they doing? And then they did the same thing over at Mercedes for Bottas as well. But I guess
that was weird.
I don't know if they were thinking, it's not going to rain anymore, so they were trying to make the tyres last to the end. But did Max even manage one lap before the spin, or was it on his out lap? And he straight away on the radio saying, "You should have put me on the softs, guys."
I think it must have been his first lap out. Because he was on the radio like, this is really, really close. And then he spun and he's like, why didn't you put me on the softer tyres? And that's when he came. But then he came back in and a lot of people, they stayed out, which hurt them. But
did you see how he caught that 360 spin and just kept going like he was right on the curb? Lucky he didn't damage his car, actually, because he bottomed out right over that curb. And what I was going to say is the way he caught the 360 and just kept going. And yeah, we've seen other people do it too. And I guess it's one of those 50-50 things where there's definitely skill in it, but there's also a lot of luck. But I remember
a shite load of luck. Definitely.
I've heard him say before, he got asked about it. When was the last wet race we had? Would it have been Brazil when he won there as well? A real wet race, but
yeah, that's when everyone was like amazed with his ability in the wet.
That's right. He came from a far way back that time as well,
and he was taking weird lines that no one else was exploring, and he was just finding grip where everyone else wasn't, and like his talent was on show.
But he got asked about spinning and how well he caught it, and he attributed it to
luck.
No, he attributed it to catching many a spins online.
Did he?
From sim racing, yes. He said, so there's got to be a little bit of correlation there, and I thought, I've got to use that.
Yeah, well, he's a big. He just did the Spa 24-hour race, and
I've got that noted for later on, but I just thought that was interesting. He actually attributed it to that, because I guess you can't just get into a Formula One car and get out there and practice losing it.
No, you can't. They'd probably scream and yell at you if it was out there bloody getting the thing sideways. But
and
yeah,
But it was a pretty awesome victory at the end. As he said, name of our podcast, wow, what a race as he crosses the line.
And they had a good pit stop too because they beat the world record again. 1.88 seconds, that pit stop.
Mate, are we going to have a pit stop under 1 second?
Never say never. Just there'll be a limit. There'll be a limit.
It's just getting ridiculous, right?
Yeah. Like less than 2 seconds. What even is that?
Exactly, that's my point. I keep saying I want less people involved in the pit stop just so it can actually be a pit stop. This is like...
I've often thought about that, and I would always, like, if we restricted the amount of people that were allowed, like a lot of other categories do, I think it'd really test the team's ability to, get everything together and sorted, and just, I don't know, it'd make it very interesting, I think.
I agree. I think that's definitely a topic for one of our lull podcasts to discuss, I think. But on the other side of the scale at Red Bull, what about his teammate Gasly? Overtaken by Albon twice in the race in the Torro Rosso.
And
then
beaten by Kvyat as well, don't forget. Who's beaten to a podium.
Yes, Kvyat's got the podium. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But the irony is just... Again, you can't script that sort of stuff. Like, that was years in the making, that story. With Kvyat being, pulled out of Red Bull, out of F1, returns to F1. Gasly gets his chance.
Love it.
But the Sky team, because we get the Sky broadcast team here in Australia, I know a lot of people probably do, but they were talking about Gasly a lot over that weekend. So his future is... We were talking about it too last week, but his future is going to be clearly on the line after that shambles of a weekend.
Well, look, man, the pressure's been on big time. That fire's been simmering away under him for quite a few races now. Well, pretty much from the start of the season. It was a little bit unlucky the way he ended up binning it out of the race when he went to repass Albon. I kind of could almost blame Albon for it because he moved out as Gasly went to overtake, but it was a split-second decision. So
it was just like the Verstappen Vettel last race.
Yeah, very, very similar. Yes, exactly. So that's why I'm not saying necessarily it's Gasly's fault. I'm not saying it's Albon's fault. It's just unlucky. Just when things are going shit, they just go shit for you, don't they?
Well, they do. I mean, he got fourth in qualifying. He was about 4/10 off Max's time, which I still don't think is close enough. But no. It was good enough for fourth on the day, and they beat the
but don't
Ferraris.
forget that fourth with two Ferraris not there.
Yeah, I did forget about that. But it was just a very interesting situation to find that Max Verstappen won that race, and Gasly, well, he was nowhere to be seen after the start. That's
what I mean. He can't cop a break. Even, I think, did you hear it on the radio when he was just swearing? It's no, because what can he do?
Yeah, but I know it's not really all his fault, but he still that was at the end of the race. That whole race leading up to that.
Oh yes.
I don't think he had anything. Like, Max was just way better.
Do you think being in the position that he is, just, I guess, you become even subconsciously a little bit more cautious than he probably should be, and then that's what probably hurts even more, that he actually still ended up crashing anyway.
Oh, no doubt. But, I think Max with Daniel Ricciardo last few seasons, he was the young one that come in. Ricciardo was the top dog. And Max held his head high when he had to. He made some mistakes here and there, but he's turned out to be one hell of a driver, and Gasly just hasn't really coped with that pressure.
Oh, Max has just blossomed in this clear-cut number one role in the team. I mean, look at he's on 162 points, third in the championship. He's only, Lewis is on 225, so what does that put him? About 60-odd points off Lewis. So just over 2 race wins off Lewis. I mean, no one would have guessed that at the start of the season.
No. And
And Gasly's on 55, just for the record. So from Red Bull's perspective, look at all those points that are wasted. Where, like, if Max is on 162, you'd expect Gasly to be on at least 100, I'd say.
oh, easily. But then you got to look at it this way as well. Bottas is out. Leclerc is out. Red Bull won the race, and he didn't finish.
Yeah, exactly right.
So,
And a Torro Rosso came third. The
Yes.
sister team.
yeah. So Gasly, I think he's skating on thin ice here, and our prediction about the summer break, it could be all over for him, or the beginning of it anyway.
Well, we're going to talk about, obviously, Kvyat with his awesome third place here as well. We'll come back to Vettel in a sec. But if you were Kvyat and they offered you that Red Bull drive, so you're going to go and be basically Max's lackey, would you take it? Or do you stay where you are?
It depends if they give me more money or not.
Well, it would have to come with more money, you would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think it'd depend on the pay packet at the end of the day.
I was thinking about this because he's already been there, done that, and he's been burnt hard. So I was thinking, here he is, he's killing it at Torro Rosso at this minute. So if he can continue this form, I was just being devil's advocate kind of, and just thinking, what if he continues to kill it to the end of the season? Does it open up more possibilities for him in other teams?
Maybe. I mean, there's talk of Hulkenberg not having a seat next year. The silly season's begun, but, you know...
What do you mean?
Started.
Didn't it start at Melbourne, the silly season? It just seems to start earlier and earlier every year.
Starts at winter testing, if you ask me. But,
Yeah.
you know, like, I don't know. I think if that was to happen, he needs to sort... Because, he, like you said, he knows the team. So, if he felt comfortable there, I don't know if he did or not. If he feels he could fit in. If he doesn't feel he could fit in and he feels he could do a better job with Torro Rosso and get a, you know, maybe something even different out of it at the end of it, or a better opportunity, then he'd stay. I don't know. It's something he's going to have to figure out.
Well, he definitely seems to have matured, so it will be very interesting if this does happen and he does go there. It's going to be very interesting viewing, because if he can contain his, what would you call it, his eagerness, which earned him the torpedo nickname. You know, if he can just calm it down and understand his position in that Red Bull team, that he's just there to back up Max, mate, I can see it developing into a pretty awesome bulletproof team.
Oh, yeah. But then you got to ask yourself, do you want to be the Bottas to Verstappen? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think it'll be more like Max's Barrichello.
okay, yeah.
But I can't see Kvyat just rolling over into one of those roles, that's what worries me about going there for him.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know. We're really going to have to wait and see. Maybe they'll stick it out with Gasly. Maybe he'll find form. You know, class is permanent, form's temporary, as they say. So see what
that's Torro Rosso's second ever podium. The first one was Vettel when he won with Torro Rosso in Monza on another very tricky day like this.
Yep.
And what do you know? Vettel was on the same podium again this time. So 2 podiums for Torro Rosso, and Vettel's been there for both of them.
It was a good race. Well, Vettel's the next one we want to talk about in this section. Last a second.
He did not even get to qualify. 20th on the grid. Some turbo issue.
I was upset when that happened because they were looking quick, those Ferraris, and then obviously Leclerc was out as well, but I was like, come on, you're going to upset. We didn't need it in the end, but initially I was a little bit peeved.
Well, it is annoying. And like I just said earlier with Gasly, it's just like, when your luck is down, it's just really down. And Vettel has been on this downwards spiral, if you call it, or just he's plateaued at the bottom of the trophy for quite a while now. And it started all here in Germany last year when he ran into the wall off the lead. That's 12
Yeah.
months ago. Now, the way the race panned out, and he fought his way back from 20th to 2nd, and he was flying at the end too. So is this Vettel's revival? Is he going to start the climb up again?
Well, it would. I mean, at first glance, it'd seem so.
I hope so.
I mean, we've got a race this weekend. I think that'll answer it. Like, confirm that or not for us, but it looks likely.
Just as a Formula One fan, you don't have to be a Vettel fanboy or Hamilton fanboy. Like, we need Vettel to be up there in a Ferrari at his best. Leclerc as well. Just we need these guys fighting at the top. I don't want to see Vettel retire. He's a 4-time world champion, and if he was to retire in this current state now, I think it'll be a bit of a disservice, and that's what people will remember more than, and then they'll start the debate of, those 4 championships he won, they were all the car, it wasn't him. So he kind of needs to prove himself here as well, I think. He needs to pull himself out of this.
Do you think if he won a championship, he'd leave like Rosberg did?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that's definitely on the cards, I'd say.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would say.
Well, he's just got married. Has he got kids? I don't think he's got kids.
I don't think he's got kids, no. Speaking of kids, Kvyat, that was the other thing too. He had a kid the night before his podium, so he's had an awesome weekend that he will never forget.
Well, I don't even think he got to saw the birth, did he? He missed it because he was racing.
Oh, true. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll still be a special weekend for him, but yeah, I don't think he was there for the birth, which must have sucked. But a podium, that's pretty good consolation prize.
No, it was probably Skyped.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, let's just leave those images there.
Oh yeah, but
the
one. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say with Vettel though, and his race, the way it panned out, for the first half of the race, he was actually nowhere. Like if someone watched the first half of that race and then went to bed, they would have got up in the morning and said, "How the hell did Vettel finish second?"
Yeah, I was a bit worried about 25 laps in before everything started to kick off. I was like, Vettel doesn't look like he's going to make his way through here very well. It just didn't look likely.
He made up some, I think, 5 or 6 spots on the first lap or two. He was running 14th, but then he kind of stalled.
He got stuck, yeah.
Actually, lap 2, he came in for inters, and that's what put him straight back. So whatever he gained, because that's when Perez lost it and the first safety car came out. Yeah. And Vettel was the first one to dive in for the inters. And then he just kind of was nowhere. And then there was talk of his turbo issues again. He was having issues with his motor, supposedly. But he himself, after the race, said, no, he just didn't have the mojo. Just wasn't clicking. And Leclerc was also suffering in that middle stage. So I think the car just didn't like the conditions.
Well, surprisingly, Ferrari were on the right tyres, well, for Vettel anyway, at the right time. Their strategy was on point.
100% on point. You cannot fault Ferrari's strategy this weekend, I feel.
No, there's someone else you can, though. And there's plenty of memes out there about it. But, yeah, the old saying goes, the right tyre at the right time, and I think that's what got Vettel to where he was in this race, like a few other drivers, but Vettel was one of those.
Well, I agree, and I'm actually happy for him. Like I just feel like he needed this. He didn't win the race, but to come from 20th and finish second, and he finished strong, I think this should hopefully be a big boost to his confidence.
It'll be good to see if that carries on this weekend.
That's what I'm hoping. So that was the podium winners.
Yes.
That's light 2 done and dusted.
That was all 3 of them. We're going to talk about stewards, penalties, and fines. And the first thing which got me so irate was that start under the safety car, which then was some weird rule that I've never seen in my life because I was so confused. Because on TV, it just kept saying formation lap.
No one knew the rule. The commentators didn't know the rule. They were all saying these laps aren't going to count, but then they're going, hang on a minute, what about the fuel that's being used? you know?
Yeah.
And they go, but it's a wet race, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, but you can't say that. What if it stops raining in 3 laps and then it's dry all the way and they're fanging it? And so
But did we clear up when this thing changed? Because I'm still confused.
No, it hasn't changed. The actual laps did count. Did you? The race was.
I thought they just rolled the safety car in and just rolling started it.
That's what they used to do. Yes, when they do a rolling start. But apparently,
That's what I mean.
yes, the rule, the change to the rule apparently has been that now the race director, in conjunction with the safety car driver Bernard, something his name is, together they can decide if it's going to be a standing start or a formation lap, and apparently they can continue rolling around till they decide it's time to do a standing start. So yes, new rule to me as well. But the biggest confusion was, do these laps count or not? And we were being told they don't count, but in the end they did count.
They did count. Yeah, that was normal, but just that going around and then starting the grid up again, I was like, don't think
very odd, wasn't it? Although I do like it and I applaud it, I much prefer the standing start than a rolling start. But there really wasn't. I don't understand why. As soon as they see moisture on the freaking tarmac, oh shit, we can't do a standing start. Like, we just went on about it earlier about these cars have got anti-stall on them. You can't even stall them if you try. Like, they're so much more advanced than the cars of 20 years ago, when they were getting off the grid, no problem. And all of a sudden now, oh shit, it's too dangerous. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know where all this safety stuff starts, man. Like, the rooster tails were spitting up and it was going to be misty. But I've seen races race through much worse conditions than that.
100%. I mean, these are professional drivers. This is Formula One. You have it's the pinnacle of motorsport. You've got the 20 best drivers in the world in these cars. Surely they can handle it. If they can't, they shouldn't be there, you know? Yeah, sure, they might have to leave a little bit of extra room going to turn 1. They might have to go and scout a little bit wider than they normally would. Hey, man, they'll deal with it. I'm sure they will. But I hate these people making the decision for the drivers.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I just don't know where all this hyper safety concerns have come from. I just don't get it. But I did like the fact that they did do a standing start, even if they did roll around for 4 or 5 laps.
Yes, agreed. So, but it's just,
in the end, the FIA got what they wanted. We got what we wanted. We're both happy.
At the risk of sounding like an old bloke, it's unfortunate that it's the day and age we live in. Everything is PC and about safety. And then, the minute someone's probably upset with me saying, what, are you against safety or something, Like, no, I mean, these cars are so safe now. And I'm not going to ever say they're too safe, but, motorsport is dangerous. That's a fact.
Oh, inherently.
Yeah. So, you can never eradicate all of the danger. Sure, take some measures, but come on, man, have a bit of common sense. But, yes, at least we got a standing start.
Yeah, that was, I guess, a consolation from that. But and obviously we had about, what did you say, 7 safety cars that race anyway?
All up, yeah.
Yeah, it was a mess. Let's go on to the Leclerc unsafe release first. It says here they've got a team fine, which would make sense because the team let him out. But because his engineer on the radio was yelling, "Traffic, watch for traffic, watch for traffic." So, but again, it's one of those things. Pit lane, safety car, raining. It gets very busy. I don't know. Did you see an issue with it, or did you think it was the right call?
I think it was definitely an unsafe release. But again, this was another thing that slipped under my radar. Like, this is the first time I've ever heard or seen such a penalty issued during the race. Like, I think normally they penalise the driver, and then afterwards the team does get a fine. So it's not like the first time the team has been fined for such a thing. But I've never heard just the fine being issued during the race, so Leclerc was free to go. Usually they give him a 5-second stop-go penalty, or they give him something, you know.
Yeah.
I like this idea. I think it's very good, but I don't know if it's the best solution to give a monetary fine to a team, like especially like Ferrari or Mercedes, because even if it's $200,000, I don't know the actual number of the fine. Do you?
No, I don't.
I mean,
I don't.
it has to be substantial. But even let's say it's $250,000 with a championship on the line, Ferrari and Mercedes, that $250,000 is nothing. They will willingly pay it. So what I'm saying is they will let the car out. I think if they want to give a fine to a team, they need to fine them with constructors' points.
Oh, you want to go that far?
That's what I would do. Not money. Then it affects everyone the same, up and down pit lane. It's not like I'm richer than you, so I can afford the fine, so I'm letting my guy out.
I see where you're coming from.
Well, depending on the severity of the... I guess there is no depending on the severity. If it's unsafe, it's unsafe. So yeah, pick a number, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Fine them. Constructors' points is what I say.
Yeah, well, that would probably stop them trying to fit into that gap, I guess.
That's what I think.
That's a solution I didn't really think about, but yeah, I mean, it was a busy pit lane. No one crashed. I thought it was okay, but
remember Max Verstappen at Monaco this year when they released him and they actually banged wheels with, was it Bottas?
Bottas. Yeah.
And there was no penalty. This comes back to when we talk about, consistency, but...
Well, if they show consistency here forward, then I don't think there should be an issue.
That's what we're hoping. Like these last few races, things have seem to be going in the right direction, and let's just see it. Hope that it continues.
Sorry, the Hamilton did get a penalty for that bollard thing. Now that we're talking about it,
yes,
didn't he?
Yes,
he did. Because when he was there last year,
it's ironic. Same track.
Did he not do the same thing last year?
Did he not do it the other way around? Last year, remember Bono was telling him, in, out, in. And then he came into the pit lane and then they said, out. So then he swung it, but he went around the other side of the bollard, which he wasn't allowed to do either. And there was no penalty. But this year...
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
so virtually...
I was happy to see him get the penalty because I was like, he should have gotten this last year. But yeah, it was very, very ironic to see him do exactly a similar thing at the same track in almost similar conditions too.
It's for me with that penalty, I think it was a no-brainer. Like they had to give it because it's clear the bollard is there for a reason, and he did cut right across the track, which I think was dangerous on its own. Imagine another car flying around in those conditions. Cause
that's what I mean.
He could have got T-boned so hard, like someone like a Grosjean not paying attention, just bang. I could see that happening while he was going across there.
Yeah.
But the law states that he's supposed to go around the track and then come to the pits. But then there's also another rule which states that you're not allowed to drive a whole lap with a damaged car because you could be just dropping bits and pieces. So you're supposed to pull over and retire, basically. So
right.
I see why he did it. And I also kind of think, well, his car was damaged. You could have showed a bit of leniency, but then it's like, no, you can't. You're murkying the waters. So
if they had done that, I'd be yelling black and blue.
Could you imagine if they had done that?
Oh, there would have been conspiracy theories, just Reddit threads, Twitter going into overdrive. It would have been a mess.
That was the beginning of the end for Hamilton's race too, wasn't it?
Yeah, their second penalty, what was that? I didn't think he got one for holding up the safety car.
Oh, I thought he got a second penalty for too slow. He didn't.
No, I read something that didn't.
Because it was under investigation, and I thought they handed it to him, but obviously not. Then sorry, that's my bad. So it's just one penalty for Hamo.
But I never saw any footage of it, so I'm not really sure I don't remember seeing it happen, so I don't really know what happened there.
And then the last big steward talking point for this weekend was the Alfas. They had a great finish. I think they finished 7th and 9th originally, but they were disqualified for technical reasons.
It was with the clutch. It was something to do with the clutch and the milliseconds, and it was like technically a jump start. It was really weird. I still don't fully understand what happened, to be honest.
When I was watching Ted's notebook, they were saying that it was communication violations like that. The drivers were told certain settings to put the car in, which apparently is not allowed, which I found odd because I was watching Ricciardo's onboard on F1 TV, and his engineer was clearly telling Ricciardo if it's, because at this stage they didn't know if it was a standing or a rolling start, and they were clearly telling him if it's a standing start, mode 2, second gear. If it's a rolling start, mode 5, again, second gear. So they told him, either way, you need to take off in second gear, but depending if it's a rolling or a standing, you go to mode 2 or mode 5. And then I was thinking, well, why didn't they get a fine?
Well, I don't think it was that, because I'll read this to you, right? It says, the stewards, this is on the F1 website, the stewards found the torque in the clutch at the start did not match the torque demand as the driver released the clutch within the specified 70 millisecond maximum period. This time was measured at approximately 300 milliseconds. They compared this breach to that of a false start with a potential advantage, and therefore opted to give both drivers a 10-second stop-go, which equates to 30 seconds added to each of their race times.
I see.
So, I still don't know what that means. Because it says here they allege breached Article 27.1 related to clutch torque application during race starts.
I thought it, originally when you were saying the clutch, I thought maybe they were saying that it was aided, like an aided start, because it's full manual. That maybe that's where the issue was. But then you're saying it was almost like a jump start. But
yeah. But torque demand as the driver released the clutch. It was measured at approximately 370 millisecond maximum. I don't know. I don't really get it. It's just weird.
We don't get it, and I'm sure Kubica doesn't care because he got his first point as a result for Williams.
Oh, how unlucky is Russell, man?
Oh,
He's
tell me
worked
about
so
it.
hard.
Did he make a mistake? But I know that Williams weren't on the slick tyre ever. They didn't take any risks, which I found very odd for a team like Williams.
Yeah, they should have.
They only went onto the slicks right at the end when it was a no-brainer. You had to be on the slicks. But prior to that, I think they were the only team, or did I hear also Sainz never went on the...
There were a few that stayed on the wets for a while.
But I believe the Williams never even went on inters. They just went wets all the way until it was slicks.
Just going over the pit stops, so I'm trying to find if Russell pitted at any point. I know he pitted on lap 57. He pitted on lap 7. It doesn't, unfortunately, tell me what he put on. Kubica pitted on the same lap, so that was probably onto the wets, if not the inters. And then we go down the field. Russell again at lap 24. So they must have just been swapping to the intermediates, or even swapping back on wets.
I just don't understand. Like, if you're a team like Williams, this is the perfect race for you to try to snatch a couple of points, especially with, some of the top teams. Hamilton wasn't even in the top 10, So these guys are falling off the track. There's no point in just continually circling around and not taking any risks, and you're 2, 3, 4 seconds slower than everyone else. You need to take a risk. I mean, look at what Stroll did.
I know.
In the racing point, they were like running second last or last, and they were the first ones to take the gamble on the inters, and he almost pinched a podium.
Well, he was sitting dead last. He was 15th. Because I was watching him, and I was like, Stroll is nowhere today. And then they had nothing to lose. Put him on the soft tyre, and it was the right tyre to be on.
And that's what got Kvyat his podium, because they were just far enough coming around on the lap to see that the pit crew at Torro Rosso got to see Stroll's first sector out on those tyres, and they quickly called him in, and then K-Mag was behind as well. So they both benefited massively by seeing Stroll's first sector. So they just came in, put the slicks on, and then that was that bigger gap because Stroll was already out, and then Kvyat still caught and passed him. So he wasn't fast, Stroll, but he was on the right tyre at the right time.
It was fast enough.
So
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
this is what Williams should have been doing. They should have been taking the risks.
Oh, for sure. So it was just one of those weekends, man. Like I've been saying, right tyre, right time.
As Brundle always says, yes, you have to be on the right tyre at the right time, even if it's only for 3 laps. Man, if you're losing 5-6 seconds a lap, that's a lot.
Exactly. It's if over 3 laps is about 15 seconds.
That's
so
right.
That's a long way. Anyway, that's light 3, stewards, penalties and fines. Light 4, Mercedes weekend from hell.
Wow, what a weekend the Merc boys had.
It was one to forget, I think. And it was their bloody title race, home race for the manufacturer. Just
125-year anniversary race.
They had a special livery.
They paid for the race, basically.
Yeah, they did.
It's like someone shouting everyone for dinner, and then he goes home with food poisoning. That's
man, just like that. Just
it
like
was
that.
a shocker. And bloody Toto Wolff putting the pressure on Bottas from the outset when he got asked, if his seat is safe, and he just nonchalantly said, "Oh yeah, we will assess his seat in the next 2 races."
I didn't hear him say that. That's a bit concerning.
He said that. That's what I'm saying. So as soon as I heard that, for me, it was like in my brain, translation, Bottas is out.
But the mistake Bottas made was the exact same thing Hamilton did. Hamilton just got lucky and didn't hit that wall.
Hang on. I haven't even got to the mistake yet. This was before the race. This is during the weekend. This is during the weekend. I think it was even before qualifying. He was asked about Bottas's contract negotiations and stuff. And Toto said, we will assess his situation over the next 2 races, as in how he performs. So why would you need the next 2 races if you haven't made your mind up now? So it's like, he's out. Bottas is gone.
So you reckon he's done?
I think so. We were
So
talking
Ocon's
about
got a
Ocon
seat
last week, and I think looks like that seat is Ocon's.
So Ocon, is Bottas there to the end of the year?
Oh yeah, they won't be getting rid of him before the end of the year, I don't think.
But Ocon's here next year.
I believe so. I'm just reading between the lines.
Well, you've heard it here, folks. First.
I'm reading between the lines, and that's what No, remember I told you
good
last
with
time that I heard the ex Lotus team principal, the ex I can't remember his name right now, but he actually said that he had on good sources that Ocon was in next year.
Okay.
So if that's the case, that begs a question: where does Bottas go?
Where does Bottas go? Does he go to Renault? If Hulkenberg goes?
That's a massive step down, but what choice does he have? He's not going to go to Red Bull, surely.
Would they have him? Yeah, they might. They might have him.
So they could stick it out with Gasly till the end of the year, and then they might have a Bottas on their hands to contract.
Yeah, well, Bottas.
Does he go to Haas?
It was really weird to see him go from Williams to Mercedes, I must say. I didn't see that.
Does he go back to Williams?
Oh, no way. I don't know. No.
Do you rather be out of F1 at this stage of Bottas's career than go to Williams?
I think so. I think he can go have success somewhere else.
Yeah,
whatever it is, GT racing, Formula E, perhaps.
He's been trying his hand at a bit of rallying lately, as a lot of these Finnish drivers tend to do.
Yeah, well, Raikkonen did that for a few years.
Yeah, so there's some interesting news coming up with the Mercedes boys and Bottas himself. But then, as you were just saying earlier, he ended up binning it. So it's kind of like he's putting it on himself. I'm sure the pressure is not helping, but come on, man, you're in F1. You got to be able to handle this stuff.
I mean, he was stuck behind. Who was he stuck behind?
Stroll. That was amazing too. He couldn't pass Stroll at least for 3 laps.
That was worrying to me.
Because you saw how quick Vettel got past Stroll. Didn't even take him half a lap.
No. Well, the Force India, the same Mercedes engine under that thing. I mean, the Ferrari is no doubt the quickest in a straight line, and that's where he got Stroll.
No, but I don't
you'd
think
still
there's
think
that much of a difference. It's not like the Ferrari is, a 1.5 second faster car than the Mercedes to be able to just, eat Stroll up like that. Whereas Bottas was just, he had a look at him a few times, but he just couldn't pull the move off. It was like he was too scared to have that, lick it and send it Dan mindset.
Well, maybe he just didn't feel comfortable in those conditions. But he's a Finnish driver. They're renowned for that sort of stuff. So it was just weird.
And
it was concerning to me.
It's very concerning, and that's what I'm saying. He's just putting it's like he's hammering the nails in his own coffin.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton was already nowhere. His race was done and dusted. So these are the days when Bottas should be grabbing it with both hands. If Hamilton's not there, Bottas is the one who should be bringing it home.
You're right. It all got too much for him, though, because, like you said, he put it in the wall. I mean, Hamilton, like I said before, Hamilton did the exact same thing. It was, if he just went offline, just a touch, and hit that wet patch, it upset the car.
How many guys lost it there? And Hamilton, how lucky was he? Did you see his onboard? He actually hit the wall quite firmly, but just Hamilton's luck. He hit it almost like square on, which is the strongest that those suspensions are.
Yeah, he was super lucky with that.
Just lucky.
That trajectory.
It's just, when your shit's not going your way, it's just not going. And when you've got the luck, I mean, not that Hamilton had a very lucky race, but that was a very lucky escape.
It was a very lucky one. And, I don't know. I guess Bottas. So, by this word, he's got, 2 races to prove his worth?
No, well, one's done, so he's got one left.
So before... Okay, so we'll probably wait for some news over the summer break then.
That's pretty much what Toto was saying. So, by saying that, we will assess over the next 2 races, that means they are supposedly going to make their mind up over the summer break. But I'm sure it's already... that mind is done and dusted, I'm saying.
But Bottas had a bad weekend. The Mercedes pit crew had an even worse.
If anyone hasn't seen that pit stop, we're talking about Red Bull putting up a, what did you say, 1.83 second pit stop, the world record.
1.88, a new world record. And 2 weeks in a row, by the way.
Normally when someone breaks a front wing, they come into the pits, no longer than 30 seconds, they're in and out. Doesn't take that long.
No.
Hamilton was sat there for 50 seconds.
Oh, it was reminiscent of the Red Bull boys at Monaco that year with Ricciardo. Just the way they were running in and out, backwards and forwards, getting the tyres, trying to figure it out. It was bad.
And when you watch the replay of the pit stop, what's the funniest part is that one of the pit crew, when he's running to get one of the tyres, he actually slips on the wet line or something, and he kind of
he does.
Yeah, he has a little bit of a slip, so it just makes you think they're just drunk, man. It's like
there's a good meme going out. It's those bad recorder versions of songs. It's the Formula One recorder version that dubbed over the top, and it's so funny to watch.
I saw that today.
I mean, when I watched that live, it was painful. But that video with the recorder, it was a good laugh. Go check it out. We'll probably share it on the Facebook if you want to go find it. But you've probably already seen it if you're a meme fan.
Toto
But the big thing
go on.
you've said is Netflix, because this is all going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, but do you know why I've got Netflix there in capital letters?
No.
Okay, get this. So Netflix, we've all heard that they've confirmed that Mercedes and Ferrari are confirmed for this season of Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So here's Mercedes in their 125-year anniversary race. This race is the only race that they have committed to on the Netflix series.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'm not. This is what I heard, and I could not stop laughing when I read it. I said, this is what I say, it cannot be scripted any better. Apparently, they only agreed to one race for the whole season, and this was the race that they agreed to. Their 125th anniversary race. They are going to appear on the Netflix season 2 next year. No other race.
Oh, that is so good.
That's why I could not stop laughing when I read that. I went, oh my God.
Do you reckon they must sign on now for another one? They
Oh,
must be
100%. So there's got to be some Swifty contract negotiations going on now, don't you think?
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Do you reckon they even wrote into the contract, we've got final say on the edit?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
They dressed up for it and everything with their pit crews, and then afterwards, then the Sky Boys were talking to Toto, and he was not a happy chap, obviously. But he even said, "This is what happens when you take your focus off. We've been worrying about too much hoopla."
Was that what he was talking about?
Yeah, he was saying too much hoopla going on. You know, he's probably talking about cameras everywhere, all the dress up, people dressing up. You get their focus off the game. Yeah, he was not happy, man.
No, I didn't quite connect the dots when he said that, because I was like, what does he mean by that? And I thought, well, they got the livery and the I didn't even connect that was the Netflix thing happening.
Not just the Netflix, but also the guys in the garage all dressing up. You know, they tried to do a Red Bull, and I don't think Toto will be allowing it again. No, we are not Red Bull.
Did you like their livery?
I did not.
Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of it. It was a bit boring, to be honest.
I was expecting something a lot more out there and more akin to the older Mercedes livery that they kept going on about.
Yeah.
I thought personally we might see like a brushed metal look, because, you know, that's what they're famous for when they had to chip their paint off, and then that's what they went racing in, which is why they're called the Silver Arrows, because they were just racing in bare metal. So I thought they might come out with like a brushed metal look on the car, but I was disappointed.
I kind of liked the outfits, though. I thought that was kind of cool.
That's what I mean. They tried to be Red Bull, but they are not Red Bull. They are
I
German.
I just thought that old school look, I just thought it looked really cool. But anyway, I can't wait to see that in 2020.
Toto no like.
Oh, that's going to be the best episode of that series by far. That's going to be the most watched, easily.
I'm
probably going to go viral when that comes out.
I have a feeling there's going to be some re-contract negotiations if it's not happening right now as we speak.
Oh, probably. Oh, what a light 3 we've had. Mercedes weekend from hell. Done.
That was our fourth light, and we are up to our last light now.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Yep. Last one, number 5.
I know it's going a bit long, guys. We're just coming up to the hour mark, but this really, we tried to cut it down a bit, but it was an action-packed race. A lot of stuff happened.
Oh, there was so much. Last light. The infamous ice rink.
Martin Brundle's infamous ice rink, as he kept calling it, the ice rink.
Yeah.
The ice rink.
Yeah, I called it the drag strip of death. It was so slippery.
Well, I listed there the victims that I just recall. I don't know. You might even have more to add, but Leclerc crashed out there. Lewis crashed there. Hulk retired there. Kimi lost it there, but his rally skills and finishness saved him. He actually managed to save it. Bottas crashed out there. Sainz also. How lucky was he? He did a full 360 and stopped just before the barrier. And when he went to pull reverse, he actually went forward towards the barrier, and then he went, oh shit! And then he still finished 5th after all of that. So that's the kind of race we had this weekend.
The saddest one on that list is Hulkenberg. I thought he was on for a podium.
People are going to think I'm a prick, but when I saw him going that wall, I just laughed. I went, yep, there's the Hulk, making his own bad luck once again.
I almost cried for him that night. Like, did you see him sitting under that tarpaulin with his head in his hands? And I was just like, poor bloke.
So I start thinking, is he going to ever get a podium before he retires?
Oh, I don't know if he will. Because he was in a podium position. And then it just... But that's the difference at the end of the day, the ones who get to the end. And it was Vettel, Kvyat, and who was third? I can't remember who was third.
What do you mean? Kvyat was third. Vettel was second.
Oh, Max.
Yeah, Max was first.
Yeah.
And then we had Stroll fourth, and then we had, Stroll fourth. Yes, that's Stroll fourth.
I know. I didn't want Stroll to get that podium as much as...
did you see us in Discord? Zen and I were like, come on, Vettel, get him, Vettel. Like, no, don't let Stroll finish third. We'll never live it down.
Oh, no. I couldn't have him getting another podium. It's just, he's been so slow in Q1, and he was so lucky to get out of Q1, actually.
Back to that, the ice rink. Hulk called it was like, he called it the soap lottery. He said it was like driving on soap. Because he actually saved it, and then when he gave the gas a bit more, that's when he actually lost the final loss. Like, he said his team didn't tell him, which is ironic. Like, why the hell wouldn't the engineers get on and say, hey, guys, be careful here. Everyone is slipping off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Apparently he wasn't told from his engineers.
Why is it so polished? How do they... Is that good for the drag cars or something when they lay rubber down?
I thought it was the rubber, and then all the rubber that they lay down, and then they... then when it gets wet, obviously it gets slippery. But I was talking to Eddie about this yesterday, our friend of the podcast, Zen, and he's had some drag racing experience himself, and I should have written it down, but he told me there's actually some sort of substance that they pour on the tarmac there.
Right.
And he said to me, if you walk out there on a hot day, your feet will like stick to that like chewing gum. He goes, but when it's wet, he goes, it's like ice. There's no grip whatsoever.
Yeah, there was none.
So
do you reckon they'll get rid of that or cover it up or try to make it less of a hazard next? Oh, we're not going there next, are we? But
let's say they were
going there, they would have.
No, and I don't think they should.
No, I don't think they should either. I think every truck should have that on the side.
That's another point, and I like your way you're thinking. But the point is that just as Ted Kravitz
the
said,
sprinklers turned on.
just as Ted Kravitz said in the Notebook, he was walking out there and he was checking how slippery it is with his sandals, and then he said, "It's been here for 100 years. This drag strip. It's not like they just put it here for this race." Because Leclerc was saying it was totally unacceptable, the tarmac there, and he was obviously not happy seeing his race ended there, but. It's been there forever and a day. It's just, you knew it was there.
It's not going to go. It's not an issue because we're not racing there, but you're right.
But to kind of counteract Leclerc, it wasn't the first time he went out there and crashed. Early on, at least twice before, he ran wide there and he knew that was a no-go zone. So he should have actually taken that extra caution to not get out there.
Yeah,
I know it was raining. I know it was hard, but yeah.
Because he screamed, F no, come on, Charles. And then he was, sorry, guys, blah, blah, blah. So it was almost like Vettel last year where you could hear the emotion in Vettel's voice. He sounded like he was going to cry last year, but it was very similar with Leclerc.
Well, I did say it in our preview show this year, and with Leclerc moving to Ferrari, my main worry with him was that he's a bit too young and inexperienced still to get there, because people remember all his good races last year in the Sauber, but I also remember quite a few where he just made silly mistakes because, and it's not because he's shit, it's just because he's young and inexperienced. And I think these are the things where it's like even the most experienced guys were making errors yesterday. So it's not like I'm hard on Leclerc for his mistake yesterday. I mean, he still did a great job till that point. But I just don't like the afterwards when he's saying, oh, that's unacceptable to have tarmac like that. And no. What you need to just learn to, be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I don't think he's had that many good races this season, though. He's had more bad ones than good.
Yeah, it's just Bahrain sticks out in everyone's mind because, he was on for the win there. And because
But he had Baku this year. He was out in that one. This one, he lost the win in Austria. I can't.
100%. He hasn't done himself any favours.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's obviously got a lot of work ahead of him, but it's not the end days. But I think you're right. He should have just dealt with it, and that's what it is.
Just thinking now and talking about Leclerc, but we said earlier if this was Vettel's revival, and if he actually, starts putting the pressure on, then we'll really see what Leclerc's made of.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It hasn't been full steam ahead yet for Leclerc. So
so far...
action station, so to speak.
Yeah, so far he's been, you'd have to say, at the very least, holding his own quite comfortably with Vettel. He's able to at least softly beat his chest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if Leclerc continues to make mistakes and then the tide turns and Vettel starts all of a sudden stringing wins, podiums together and Leclerc's nowhere, it'll be interesting to see what happens then to the whole dynamic there.
Yeah, that'll be one to watch.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is our 1 hour of 5 lights on, 5 lights out.
Yes. Yeah, a little bit longer than usual, but there's still so much more to talk about, but I think they were the important parts. And we wanted to make... Obviously, we don't want to be like every other podcast where they just tell you that Max got first, Vettel second, Kvyat third, Stroll fourth, so on and so on, that some do. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the different way we bring it to you every week.
Jump onto our Facebook, guys. Lights Out F1. Get involved. Leave us some reviews in iTunes.
Or Podbean or Stitcher or wherever you can. Even if you just chuck a like on it. But yeah, if we can get more people on the Facebook to follow us there and we can keep in contact, maybe we should get a Twitter and stuff as well. Let us know what you want. So, yeah, if we don't know, we don't know.
All right, well, let's quickly just wrap up the rest of the week in just a couple of little talking points. We've already discussed Hulk and our man Dan and his exhaust failure. So everyone we have here falling off the track, crashing into walls, spinning 360s, and Dan suffers an engine reliability issue. Well, actually, an exhaust failure, they said. So
didn't they go back to an old unit for this race?
Apparently, it was his engine number one for the season. So, but it wasn't, in inverted commas, an engine failure. It was an exhaust failure. So,
I've never seen an exhaust failure like that. But anyway,
it's just a shocker, eh?
Yeah, it was quite spectacular. It would have been really interesting to see where he would have ended up at the end of all that. But when Hulk was up the
ifs
front,
and buts now, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I mean, if buts and whats and we could be here all day.
But I was
Stroll
watching him early
fourth.
on. Sorry, I was just saying I was watching Dan early on, and he was kind of like Vettel, kind of like not doing much. But as we know, anything could have happened by the end of this race.
Oh yeah, like Stroll last to fourth. He was just on the we've talked about it, but right tire, right time, and they were very lucky to get that one. The interesting one here is the two Haas boys.
They touched again.
They did.
Just after the last race, like, wouldn't you think, no matter what, we are not going to touch?
Who now? I never get these guys right. Was it K-Mag into Grosjean or Grosjean into K-Mag? For some reason, I always get these two mixed up.
Well, at that point, Mag was faster than Grosjean, and he was passing Grosjean on the inside. And it was a pretty comfortable pass, but...
And it was Grosjean that turned in.
Yes, but...
Right.
It was only a light touch, but still. Did you hear the radio calls? First thing,
Not
Grosjean.
comfortable racing with this guy or something.
That's what Magnussen said afterwards. He said,
Oh,
he
right.
said, he said to the team, he said, "You guys got to figure out what you want to do because he said I'm not comfortable racing with this guy
Yeah, that says it all, doesn't it?
because they hate each other, man."
Oh, you can't. Someone has to go now. You can't have like Perez and what's his name at Ocon at Force India.
Yeah, it's getting to that stage. They're not quite as bad yet. They haven't actually, plowed each other into a wall yet. But Spa is coming up, so
Yeah, I think Steiner, he has to make a decision here. Who do you get rid of? Do you get rid of Grosjean? Do you get rid of K-Mag? I think K-Mag's going to go.
ooh, I would have thought Grosjean's going to go.
Well, I don't know.
I
I think it can go either way at this moment.
I honestly think K-Mag has been disappointing this year, but as we know,
Yeah.
the car has been pretty crap. But I think Grosjean just has made
I mean-
too many mistakes.
I think Grosjean will be the favourite to go, but I think at this point it's pretty even Stevens. I don't know.
Well, if I'm Steiner, I would be looking at it and I'll be thinking, well, look, man, I gave him a chance. He was lucky he got a seat this year. That's it. I'm not doing
Yeah,
it
that's
again.
true. That's true.
And I've heard rumours that Verline might be the one who gets that seat if they do make a change in the summer break because he is the Ferrari. He's the Ferrari test driver, reserve driver.
Yeah, that'd Verline, it'd work, I think.
And he's someone who never really got to show himself in F1.
Like Hartley. I still feel bad for that guy.
Oh.
I don't think he got a chance at all.
I
don't
agree.
really
I
don't.
agree. He had a lot of shit go wrong for him, but I kind of, granted, didn't have as much as Hulk, but I say like he kind of contributed to some of his bad luck and situations that he put himself into.
Possibly. But there's been so many drivers that have gotten way more opportunities, or way more second chances and second goes at things.
But what I remember with Verline is his biggest issue was, I believe, his attitude. They were saying that he's like really stuck up, and
I got that feeling from him too.
I felt like that was really what his undoing was. So I don't know if he's matured a bit more maybe, and now being involved in the Ferrari network, he might come in and surprise us all. Who knows?
Possibly. It'd be good if he has grown up. Well, Kvyat's done the same thing, so you never know. We all change. Give him time. We've talked about the Williams stealing a point after the DQs. Kubica getting his first point for Williams. Russell missing out. I might as well pose this question to the audience. The question about a minimum lap time during free practice, because there was a lot of traffic getting backed up, some accidents that almost happened. Do you think that's worthy of a solution there? It was just one of the things that was brought up on TV. Just to stop everyone slowing down so much, because it was getting really congested, and it was looking pretty dangerous. A lot like what we saw at Austria. So,
and at least in Austria it was in qualifying. Now they're backing up. Was it right at the end of FP3?
It was happening in FP2 and 3. It was happening a lot.
And what they're suggesting, or was it Crofty's idea, or is the FIA thinking about this?
What's his name? The DTM driver.
De Resta.
Yeah, De Resta. He was talking about having a minimum lap time or just a delta that they have in qualifying in free practice to stop them going so slow. Because I think I think Max or someone was doing a really slow lap. Like they were going really slow. Vettel was doing a really slow lap. You'd get to that stadium, Mercedes Arena part, and there were like 3 or 4 cars coming down that part, and then Raikkonen was flying out through the corner, because that's like almost flat out, turn 12 or whatever it is. So, yeah, it was. It just looked like a bad accident waiting to happen there. That's all.
I see where the idea is coming from, but at the end of the day, it is practice. So, I feel like it would be really hard to police such a thing, because
Well, they do it in quali. Like, you just give them a
Yeah,
delta.
but this is practice for a reason. It's like they're out there testing
But it's a
things and
racetrack.
doing things. Yeah, so, but sometimes they might be changing modes on their whatever.
I get that, but
But you're going to be
like,
under the
they
lap
were
time
going-
then.
They were going really slow.
So
Like, it was really slow.
maybe they just need to start introducing some red zones around the track where you are not allowed to go below a certain speed in this section. Like, for example, at Austria, leading into the last 2 turns. That's like, make it a red zone. You're not allowed to go under 150 kilometers per hour or whatever when you're here.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't
something.
know.
I don't know.
It was just something that was brought up, and I thought it was interesting. But I did see the point behind it. And then it didn't really get talked about a lot, but Norris held up Albon in qualifying. I mean, he didn't really hold him up. It was just he caught him on his fast lap, and it was just got stuck behind him. Because then Norris backed out, and Albon just caught up to him at the wrong time. But they seem to be forgiven and make up at the end of it, so it wasn't a big issue.
I heard Albon interviewed and he didn't seem too fussed about it.
No, I think they're pretty good friends anyway, so
Apparently they are. I
they
mean,
probably just figured it out.
Norris looks
Anyway.
like a kind of guy who's pretty hard not to be friendly with.
Yeah, no, I've followed him on Twitch now, and he's
Me too.
he's your typical young bloke. I think he's just fun. S3 awards, the superstar, the surpriser, and the stinker. If you're not sure how these work, the superstar gets 2 points, surpriser gets 1. The stinker loses a point, and we're going to tally them all up. And we're going to have some awards at the end of the season.
After the
We
next
don't know
race,
where we're at yet. We've got to do the tally, but we'll
Ah.
do that over the summer break.
Yep. I'll have
So-
I'll have a mid-season tally. Let's see where everyone stands.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that one. Anyway, I'm going to start it off with the superstar. I ummed and ahed about this because I think a few people deserved it, but in the end, I went with Verstappen. I think it was
Oh,
a
okay.
no-brainer. I know he won the race and driver of the day, and there was so many other people wanted to give it to, like Albon, for instance. He had a really good one. Just trying to think. I think, well, Albon or Kvyat even, just those two were big standouts as well for me.
And that was my plus 2 points for this weekend. The superstar was Kvyat for me.
Kvyat.
He was 19th on the grid, and to finish 3rd in the race. Yes, Sebastian came from 20th and finished 2nd, but Sebastian is in a Ferrari and Kvyat is in a Torro Rosso. So
Yeah.
I think it was he kept it pointing straight. He kept it out of trouble. He got onto the right tyres. Sure, that was a team effort, but hey, man, he's on the podium for
He
Torro
sure
Rosso's
is.
2nd ever podium. So that's a
Yeah, well
superstar
done.
effort for me.
Surpriser. I almost gave this guy the stinker because I was thinking about this during the race. And this guy was last.
Oh, jeez.
But he
You've
finished
got
fourth.
sucked in. He just took a gamble. He got onto the slicks at
Yeah,
the right time.
but
That's all it
Anyone
was.
could have taken that gamble.
Kvyat
can't take
came
that
out
away
on,
from him.
on slicks 35 seconds behind him and then caught him and passed him
Yeah, but
Get
you
out of
can't-
here.
You just said you gave
I know.
Kvyat it because he went from 19th to 3rd. This guy went from last to 4th. It's almost as good.
You're a closet strolly.
I don't like. I really don't like him. I'm just trying to be, impartial.
Hey, man.
I
I'll
gave it
I'll
a
let
shot.
you have it, all right? Have your 1 point
Okay,
on
thank
Stroll.
Thank you, my lordship.
I'm giving it to Vettel.
To Vettel. Yeah, well, it was a good one.
Yeah.
Surprising? Yeah, it was surprising.
It was.
I'll give you that one.
Oh, jeez.
Stinker. There was so many to pick.
This is going to be
Um,
interesting. I want to see who you give your stinker to.
I could have picked any of those 5 that went into the wall, and I did. I picked Hulkenberg. Man, he was up there. He was in for a shot. He just ruined, stinker of a race, man.
He, till that point, he was having a great race.
Oh yeah, I was like, he was one that at one point I was like, I'm going to give him the superstar point if he can keep this up. And then because Stroll, Hulkenberg and Stroll basically swapped spots on my list.
Well,
And yeah, so I gave it to Hulkenberg. Man, come on, you're better than that. You're better than that.
I don't know. Is he?
I think he is. He's just not. I don't know. He just can't finish it off, you know.
I'm just starting to become less and less impressed with him. You know, he's for a bloke who's been around a long time, and you know he's got definite skills. I just feel like, how the hell has this guy not ever got a podium? He's gone and won Le Mans, for God's sake.
Do you know he doesn't have a manager? Did you know that?
I believe Ricardo only just got one. And he's being sued too, actually. So that's another story.
Yeah, well, Rosberg was talking to him, and Hulkenberg said he doesn't have a manager. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I think that old school way of doing things is just really not the right way anymore, is it?
Nah, it'd be too much work in this day and age.
Yeah.
Social media and like all your sponsorships and merchandising, whatever else comes along with being a race car driver in F1.
Not that that's why he doesn't have a podium. Although it could mean maybe he wasn't in the right car. Yeah, it's true.
It could be that he's too busy off track dealing with the politics of everything instead of concentrating on the racing. So it could be a reason. But anyway, he's my stinker.
You know what? Just quickly on the Hulk, though, whenever he's interviewed and everything, he seems like a pretty chill kind of guy, though.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
he's laid back.
Yeah, he doesn't seem uptight or he doesn't come across like a prick.
No, he's a pretty... he seems like a down-to-earth guy. He doesn't think he's better than anyone. He seems like a hard-working bloke. He's just hasn't bloody finished on the podium.
Well, my stinker for this weekend has to be Bottas.
Yeah, I was almost going to pick him too.
You got to cash in, son. Like I said earlier, this is the weekends where you need to cash in. When Lewis is nowhere, you're the one who needs to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, agreed. That was wasn't great, was it?
No, it was terrible.
Oh, well, that's the S3 Awards. We'll give you an update in the next week because we're coming up to that break. The Rookie Watch, though, here we just give a point to the best rookie of the season because there's a few. Another one we've got to tally up. But I'm giving one to Albon.
Yeah, I already wrote it down for you. I guess that's what you were going to do, and that's what I've done as well. He had an awesome race. He was up in fourth for quite a while there, and then after the last restart, he got a bit balked with Hamilton, apparently, and then he got swamped by two cars.
Yeah, he was lucky not to be taken out by Gasly, if I'm honest, but that's a different story.
Oh,
another day.
When Gasly got what we talked about earlier, when he retired, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the next track this weekend, the Hungaroring, we've got some predictions. First, we've got to go over what we did. Well, we obviously didn't get any of them right, did we, in Hockenheim?
Nope. The closest we got was, out of both our selections, was I had Vettel for third. If Kvyat had held him off, I would have got 1 point. But other than that, both you and I had Max in fourth. How wrong we were. I had Bottas for the win, and you had Hamilton for the win.
Yeah, well, that didn't happen. So, no points.
Yeah, we had a shocker.
Oh well.
Lucky we're not feeding our family with these tips.
No, we'd be. If we're feeding them with fantasy points, I'd be pretty wealthy.
Oh, jeez, don't talk to me about that, man. I had a shocker.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to that one. A lot of people had a shocker, man. Don't worry. But Hungaroring is next up. Hungary, where incidentally we had, I think, one of the best FNL1 esport races to date was the Hungaroring.
It was. I watched that race live because I was in Noosa, so I didn't race that night, and I watched that race. It was an awesome race we had there.
It was. But anyway, the predictions. I'm going to give Verstappen the win.
Oh, back to back.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
this is like the Monaco with no walls.
Yeah.
It's there's basically one passing spot, which is at the end of the main straight.
Yep.
So it's generally.
Well, you can. I was seeing him
tight.
do it come down 3 as well. That left bend.
Oh, the tight left-hander. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Go around outside.
it is a
there.
tight track, so it could very well suit the Red Bull.
Yeah, I just have a feeling Verstappen might get it. Anyway, that's my first. Second, we'll go to Hamilton. I don't think he'll have a bad race 2 in a row. That's very unlikely. 3rd, gonna give it to Vettel because he seems to be on the up and up, and I think the Ferrari it might do okay there, but I think he'll do better than Bottas, who I've given 4th. And then the last Ferrari driver, Leclerc, I think he's just a bit down the dumps right now, so top 5 for him.
Okay. Well, I've got a super recovery and Vettel to go one better and actually get a win.
Okay.
Long-awaited win in Hungary for Vettel. Head of Bottas looking for redemption after this weekend.
Yep. That'll be good for him.
Max to run 3rd.
Yep.
Ahead of Hamilton. And
okay.
Sainz seems to be pretty good at grabbing that 5th spot.
He does actually, so that's probably a safe bet. It's probably a pretty safe bet.
On the F1 radio chat thing, Sainz after this weekend, he actually wasn't happy. He came on and said, "I don't know, guys. It just doesn't taste right." Like I think he felt like he did better than. It sounds like he wanted more than 5th, but come on, man! You spun it, nearly put it in the wall. You reversed, and you still finished 5th. I think that's pretty good, man.
Oh, I guess you just when you're that close to it.
Yeah,
like,
that's what he said.
It'd be a bit of a bitter taste. But yeah, I'd be happy with 5th after that kind of race. It was bloody wild. Bloody wild. Now, we've got a bit of sim racing esport news this week. I think it's been one of the busier weeks.
Yeah, well, we had the Spa 24-hour on last week in iRacing.
Yeah, and did you hear about the off-track debacle that happened?
Yeah, well, a couple of the boys from our Discord were racing, or they've been practicing, and then they were doing the first split because they have like a morning and a night race. And in-game, it's all 24 hours, but like as in our time here, it was 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. start. So they did the 11 a.m. Sorry?
It was for us.
Yeah.
Australia, Asia. So it starts at a decent time.
And these guys were expected to do a whole 24 hours of endurance racing around Spa with a maximum off-track limit of 44 X's.
Did you hear the explanation of why that happened?
For the team. No, I didn't.
So what happened, there was what was called a binary overflow. And if that doesn't make sense, the math does. So they actually set the game to give them 300, right? That was what both splits were supposed to get. So they're both to get 300. For whatever reason, the game registered up to 256. And then it went back to 0. So then it started counting up again. So the difference is 44. Oh. So the game registered as only 44. So when you do binary and math, it makes sense to me because I do IT. But that's what happened. In the end, the IT guys had set it to 300. The game only recognised up to 256, and the way binary works and bits and stuff, it didn't understand 300, so it just went back to 0 and then counted back up. So the difference was 44.
Wow.
And then in the second split,
it was complete opposite. Yes.
They turned it off. And there were drivers like Max Verstappen, they got about 800, but they weren't the worst. There were guys with thousands and thousands of off tracks.
There was one I know of, they had 2,500 incident points.
Yeah. So
our guys,
sorry, go on. At one end, you got the first split. They were getting half the field disqualified because they didn't have enough off tracks. And the other hand, you had drivers just abusing it. So it was a bit of a it wasn't a good look for iRacing during that event because there were a lot of eyes on that, considering Norris and Verstappen were racing.
That's the biggest thing. Like, you just don't expect this big an error from, one of the major players in the game, iRacing. Like, our guys from the Discord, that I said, that were running in there, one of the guys in the team didn't even get a chance to get in the car because they got disqualified by the time it was his turn to get in the car, which was less than 6 hours into a 24-hour race that they had been preparing and practicing for, or
exactly
weeks in
and
advance.
You pay money for this, by the way.
So weeks in advance. And for anyone that doesn't know or isn't familiar with iRacing, these 44 incidents that we're talking about that's if you go off track all 4 tyres, that counts as 1x. Now, if someone hits you from behind, you can get a 2x. You can get 4x.
4.
If you hit someone,
if you spin, it's 2
for loss of control. So, and this 44x is for the team. It's not per person. So that's why it was just almost impossible to complete.
Yeah. So 40, and especially at Spa, like apparently it's really easy to get an off track there. Like some corners you look at and you get it. So, it just, with the eyes that were looking on during the weekend and with esports, trying to make its way in the esport racing in the busy world that it is, it just was a very unprofessional look. Well, and it just got some people talking, that's all.
Well, as you said, so many eyes on it, and then it kind of made a farce of it with the second split with like what Lando and Max were racing in. When you're seeing guys going off track and it doesn't matter, basically. So
exactly.
I mean, but that was a technical issue with iRacing, as shit as it was, but it is what it is. It's been done. But Lando races with Max in Team Redline, I believe it's called.
Yep.
And what was funny is I read the team consists of Max Benecke, Max Wenig, Max Verstappen, and Lando Norris. I think we need to change Lando's name to Max.
Max.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a Max. And then, did you hear Max's pedal broke?
It did. I've watched that little clip where he was like, I think my brake's broken, guys, and he sort of sways to the right and then to the left, and then...
And Lando thought he was just taking the piss.
Just go off track, just go off track. Just tow it back.
They were one lap ahead with like 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, there wasn't much time left.
And then they still ended up winning by 27 seconds, but yeah, so... It was like a reliability issue even in sim racing gets you, see?
And he had like a full proper like pedal set too. Like he must have been putting some force through that brake.
Apparently the spring or something broke out of it or worked its way loose.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised with the amount of pressure those F1 drivers put on in a real car. So, but yeah, it was interesting. It was good fun. It was cool to see, and it's good to see esports getting an audience like that, I guess.
And how cool is it that you can have 2 Formula 1 drivers from 2 separate teams join forces and, for a 24-hour race, do something like this? Like, this is...
I reckon there'll be one day where the politics comes into it and that won't be allowed. So I think we should enjoy it while it's happening.
You know what? You're probably not far wrong either.
Yeah, because now that... Well, one of the news is that FIA wants to start investing more into the esports scene, and them being the governing body of real world motorsport, they want to dip their toes in the sim sports. So, it's not going to be long before, like you've got the Williams esports team, for instance, the McLaren doing the Shadow project, looking for sim drivers. So, I mean, there's big names out there looking into this thing, and now the FIA wants to look into it. I don't think it'll be long before that happens. There's an interesting take on this. Either people are like for it, or people are just like, stay away, FIA, you'll ruin it, you'll ruin the sport, you'll make it more expensive for whatever reason, licensing, all these different reasons. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, in that article, it was quoted that esports is like revenue is $1 billion. Now, I find that a little bit hard to believe. Where's that revenue of $1 billion coming from? But
I don't know.
I'd like to see some actual facts on that and some data.
Yeah, I'd like to know their source for that.
Like,
Because I doubt iRacing's making $1 billion.
no.
You know what I mean? Like, where are the... But that's one place that I can see the numbers coming from, but where else? So,
And
yeah,
so,
interesting.
Yeah, that was a bit like, hang on a minute, that doesn't sound right to me. But I guess there's smarter people looking at this stuff than me. So,
Yeah, and there's a Michelin Right to Race competition beginning in Assetto Corsa if you're interested. So,
is that a time trial thing?
I believe so. I don't
Yeah, I
know
think it
too
is.
much about it, but yeah, I think it's a lot like the McLaren one on Project Cars. It's just the quickest time sort of wins basically, and you win something. I don't know. You can go check it out. I didn't really look into it too much, but
You win a
Yeah,
racing experience at a racetrack somewhere, like a course with a race team sort of thing.
yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that'd be interesting. Maybe I'll try that one. I won't win, but it's
Yeah.
always fun to try.
What's the old saying, mate? You got to be in it to win it.
And unfortunately, I wasn't able to broadcast last week's FNL1 esports race, so let us know what happened in that one.
Yeah, well, we had a bit of a technical glitch there, and the update caught you off guard with your capture card, so we didn't have our usual stream out, and we were at Silverstone. We had a pretty good race there, and Zen took out the victory ahead of Hawks. Those two have swapped first and second places in the first 4 races now, and
Yep.
they've both got a fastest lap each, so they are both locked head to head, 87 points each at the top of the table. So they're having a great battle. Them two just pulled away from the rest of the field, only 4 races down. So the rest of us have got a bit of work to do to start catching up to those guys. And
How'd you go?
Yayo brought it home in 3rd. So that was 1-3 for Mercedes. Myself, I finished 13th, and we had rain come at the end, and we couldn't change to the Inters because it just wasn't enough. And I had a shocker qualifying, I had a shocker race, so I've had 2 shockers on the trot. I'm due for a bit of a change this week, hopefully in Germany.
And we might have a new driver this week. I don't know who, but there's possible.
We've got a fair few people showing some interest. We've got our F2 championship looks like it's going to get sorry, I'll spit that out in English in a minute. Looks like our F2 championship might get underway relatively soon. We've got like 6 or 7 guys who want to jump on board, and so
Cool.
along with a few of our guys, so we should have at least hopefully a 10-car grid for the F2s, and we've got 2 guys who are wanting to come into the main league, where we've only got 1 seat available at the moment, so we've got to see what we do with that.
Yeah,
So-
I'll let you figure that out. But 9:45 on Friday.
This Friday, guys, jump on the FNL1, go to www.fnl1esports.com, and that'll take you straight to our Facebook page, where all the info is always there.
2nd of August. 2nd of August.
This Friday.
Anyway, that's that wrapped up. And last but not least, the Fantasy League. I did allude to it earlier.
No, don't worry about it, man. That's it. We're done. It's been such a long podcast.
No, I got 152 points, moved myself up to 6th. You got, and you did well with 88 because a lot of people got less than that. But you actually moved up to 11th. So, but a lot of drivers lost points for people this weekend.
How did you rip
that-
152 out of this? Did you have Kvyat as your turbo or something?
I had Sainz as my turbo. I had Kvyat in the team. I had Verstappen in the team.
Oh.
I had Perez. He lost me 7 points. And who was the final one? Somebody, I can't remember. They did get me points. And I had Mercedes as the constructor. They didn't get me a lot, but they got me some points. But I only had one driver that lost me points.
Wow.
Because I actually went through during the free practice sessions and properly, I almost used my wild card this weekend. I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Well, you're up to 6 now, so how far off the lead are you now? Have you got it up?
I'm about No, I don't have it up. I think from memory, I'm 200 points away from you now.
Wow.
I remember doing that math.
At one point,
Just-
it was like 60 points between us. Now you're just leaving.
Yeah.
I've got some work to do, eh?
I think I'm still a fair way off the top, but yeah, moving up in the world. I'm looking good. So, if you want a good result, you should probably follow my recommendations.
Getting cocky now.
Yeah, man. Who did I have? It was Raikkonen was the other one.
Oh, well, he finished
So I had a good weekend.
7th in. Oh, before. So what happened there? Did you get points, or you should have lost points because he got DQ'd, mate. He's a cheat.
Maybe I did lose points with Raikkonen. I thought I only lost points with what's his name? Perez, because he crashed out.
Maybe.
No, I got 5 points for Raikkonen.
Oh, so maybe penalties don't come into it.
Yeah, so Verstappen got me 50, 54 from Sainz, 5 from Raikkonen, lost 7 from Perez, 33 from Kvyat, and 17 from Mercedes. Got 52 points rather. I wrote it down wrong. But there you go.
Wow. I'm going to have to somehow get a couple of big scores on the board here to catch you.
Oh yeah, and we'll have the league code if you want to join in the podcast description. So make sure you find that. And you can join at any time, so don't feel like if you've not started yet, you won't be competitive because it'll start you from the round that you begin.
Oh, yeah, this week
And
I'll also put that on the Lights Out F1 Facebook page so that if anyone
Right.
wants to grab it, it's right there.
Interestingly, in our league for this week, I was the second highest scoring point scorer.
I don't find that very interesting at all.
Musa. Musa got 162, so that was our highest scorer in the league.
How about our mate up the top there, Bethany? Did she have a shocker?
No, she got 127.
Oh, she still did all right.
Yeah, she did. She's on 1882, so I'm just over 240 odd points away.
With
60 points away.
half the season to go.
Yeah, so it's still to play for. Because I've gained 200 points on you in about 2 or 3
Three
rounds.
races.
Yeah, so it's possible to do. Anyway, that was the German Grand Prix. Wow, what a race.
Exactly. Wow. Give us another one in Hungary.
Yes, please. Hope you'd enjoyed it. Don't forget, new podcast out every week after the Grand Prix. So there'll be one out next week as well.
There will
If
be,
you're following us.
guys, after Hungary. So
And as always, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that crazy stuff. Review, podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, FM.
everywhere.
Lights at F1. And please like the Facebook page. You can leave your questions and comments there. We'll get back to you. We'll read all of them. We will promise to read all of them if you do that. But anyway, that's been tonight's podcast. It actually didn't go too long. We managed to get it in within an hour and 40 minutes. So hopefully you enjoyed that one. We'll see you next week after Hungaroring. But until then, I'll say good night. Race hard and on the edge. And Aussie.
Push it to the limit and keep it on track, guys.
All right. Good night. Bye-bye.